Hi, welcome to the Journey Mappers podcast, the official podcast of the OU Pledge and sponsored by Oakland University Credit Union. I'm Maelle Rouquet, a career and life design coach in the School of Business Administration. And today we're going to be talking with Guadalupe Sanchez, who's a recent graduate from Oakland University majoring in accounting and a first-generation student. And we're going to dive into a real-time mock interview. Welcome, Guadalupe.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maelle.
Thanks for being here. And as we go through the mock interview, your demonstration will help students or early talent articulate their professional experience to employers to come and interview questions. So what we'll do throughout our conversation is that I'll ask both reflective and behavioral questions to help assess your qualification, your skill level, and your motivation.
Perfect.
So, and before we jump into the mock interview, I'd like to understand your process of how to prepare. We all have our own process and our own systems. And I know that you've had many roles at your time at Oakland University and roles ahead. So I'm curious to hear how do you go about preparing?
Yeah, so I remember the first time that I was going to have like an interview on campus. I definitely scheduled that mock interview with you, even though it wasn't really necessary because I had already accomplished my goal of doing the mock interview for my Achieve class, but I still wanted to practice, so I definitely did that. I learned through someone before to just come prepared. So what I used to do, and I still do sometimes, but I look up the people that are going to interview me. I look through their history, their information, find out what I can learn from them that correlates with the company as well. So if they have an experience of volunteering, I really love volunteering. So I'm like, how does your company support you in that? Also, if they have experiences on a Big Four company, because I'm accounting, if they do a Big Four company and they move smaller company, how did that transition go, or vice versa, or what they like most? And so I learned through their experiences things that I can apply to my thing too. So it's definitely a learning experience. That's what I see interviews as too. So that's how I kind of prepare.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, and I'm hearing that you're really going above and beyond. Even though you've done interviews, you're continuously preparing each time you have one, and you're really researching the company, who's there, so you can find common ground.
Yeah.
Making that experience more personable. So that's great. Some other tips, the STAR method. That's a huge one.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Answering to behavioral questions, having some sort of structure in mind, but being able to be spontaneous at the same time is really the sweet spot. So briefly, I'll explain the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and results. So we'll get a chance to see how you use the STAR method when I ask you behavioral questions. So any question that assesses, your behavior in a point in time, because the premise is that it predicts your behavior in the future as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big one. Any other tips or preparation that you rely on?
I would say not be nervous. Personally, I think you should go about it what fits you most, because for me it's not really practicing the situations of how I'm going to answer the questions, because it just doesn't feel normal for me. It feels scripted. But some people need that practice of okay, I need to know what I'm going to say, at least what it's going to be about, so I'm not scrambling in my head to find something. So it definitely depends on the person, and I would say just if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not for you, kind of it's okay. So
the interview process?
Yeah, I think the interview process, the interview itself, if you don't get the company, in my mind, it's everything happens for a reason. So if you kind of go with that, you do the best you can. And if it's still not for you after doing the best you can, then it's not really for you. So
I love that mentality. Yeah, that's a great mindset. It helps you navigate through those challenges. You have an opportunity, you try your best. If it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant for you. Great.
Yeah.
I love that. And I definitely use that and as a mindset as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah. Cool. So now we're going to jump into the mock interview.
Okay.
And I want you to imagine that you are being interviewed for that ideal perfect position.
Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. So tell me about yourself.
So I am now a recent grad student from Oakland University. So I graduated with a bachelor's in accounting, and I kind of prepared through the whole process of that. Like I did an associate's in accounting, kind of knew that I really wanted to do it, so I continued with the bachelor's. I have had some experiences, so I have had like a small internship before doing taxes, personal taxes. When it comes to school, I was very involved and very passionate in the things that I did. So there was an organization I did, the Hispanic Aspiring Leaders, and we did weekly events that, bring students together. The last semester I was here, I was president of the National Hispanic Honor Society, and so that was more focused on volunteering, doing more meaningful events for students, so like giving them free meals. And so, yeah, I just really am very passionate in learning about anything, honestly, and, continuing with my accounting degree and, I'm learning through that too.
Great, yeah. So here what you've done well is that you started in the present moment. You mentioned this is where I'm at, right? And then from there you went into a glimpse of your past experiences. And so here, early talent or anyone interviewers, job seekers want to keep in mind what are those most relevant experiences that they want to put forward in their story that they shape to the employers, right? So that they can create that alignment.
Thank you.
All right. So now what are your career goals?
My career goals, I would say that definitely learning through every role that I do. Yeah. I think my career goal is also not to just be solely focused on my tasks. My career goal is to learn past my role.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why I really like asking questions to people that are not necessarily around me. I also really want to be involved with companies and their volunteer work. So definitely looking forward to that, and yeah, just being involved, doing events with people if I can, bringing that passion I had at OU to continue in my work career. So just learning and being happy.
Great, yeah. All right, so what about 3 strengths of yours? Can you list those to me?
Yes. I would say that a strength that I have is empathy for how I do things. I would say that in every task that I do, I try to understand everyone's point of view. I think that I'm also very responsible because I always want to do the best I can, however possible that is. And then I would say that I'm also very good at communication. I would say that I can really talk with people and present in front of people. I think I've done a lot of competitions that have allowed me to do that, and that has strengthened with each competition that I've done. So it's definitely thinking in the moments, on my feet, and being able to express that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So here in your example, what you've done well is not only have you listed your strength, but you expanded a little bit into what that looks like for you, right? Because it's different. Someone who embodies empathy might go about it a bit differently. So you showed a little bit more of your character to me. All right. So on the contrast, what about a weakness of yours?
I would say a weakness of mine is definitely perfectionism. But I would say that I have been working on it because, understanding how much I can do. But there are certain times where I feel like I can do more, and sometimes it's not very possible. So I have learned to let go of doing everything myself. So when I managed a team together for the last semester and even the year before at OU with my student organizations, kind of allowing people to do some of the work, and kind of giving that out and seeing who has some strengths that I don't have, and so that we can do something together that's more amazing than I could do, and so don't allow my perfectionism to get to my head sometimes.
I see, yeah. So you're delegating, but you're also embracing collaboration. And what I like about this answer is not only, you also expanded on your weakness and you transformed it into a strength. And there was a realization there. You had to learn to let go to figure out, okay, where are my limits? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I would like to assess your organization, your professionalism. So my question is, describe a time where you had a lot to prioritize at once.
Yeah, I can definitely say this was my winter semester, 2025. I had taken a lot on my plate, which I really loved, but I was doing the DECA competition, so that was a state competition that we had to do, and then there was a national competition we did in San Francisco. At the same time, I was also working at the restaurant, and I was working 4 nights. And then I had also taken a role at doing my internship at the accounting firm. So that was like February to like April. And then I had also was doing the Hispanic Aspiring Leaders Organization, which was weekly events during that time. So every week on a Thursday we had an event, different event. Sometimes there was a little volunteering I had to do on the side for it, but it was a lot, but I really enjoyed it. I think I did learn how to prioritize because I was also a full-time student, so I had to like stick with like doing my homework. I learned to do a calendar. I think that was what I really enjoyed. I had everything planned out of when I was going to do my homework, when I was going to have to be in the office, when I had to be like at the restaurant. And so it like pushed me to prioritize, but like also learn what was important in my life. So I did learn, what was going to benefit me in the future more, and how I was going to be able to like, still sometimes have fun on the side, with my friends, just so I wasn't burnt out. And, still doing certain things that I still like, just to, make everything feel worth it. And I still succeeded in everything. I did really well in my internship. I learned so much, and I also, with the restaurant, I was always having fun, and the competition at States, I got 3rd place for accounting. So there was a lot of things that it made it feel worth it at the end. So it was a lot of prioritization, but everything got done, and, it went well too.
Awesome. Yeah. So here I'm really hearing from the employer perspective. Okay, Guadalupe, whenever she's having a lot of things to handle or working on, she'll still be able to balance it out, prioritize, organize, but also get things done well.
Golden Grizzlies, earn more and stand out. Whether you're restocking your fridge or fueling up for your next road trip, make your everyday purchases count with OU Credit Union. The Visa Signature Credit Card gives you perks with every swipe. 3% cash back on groceries, 2% on gas, travel, and university purchases, and 1% on everything else. Plus, with its sleek black grizz design, you'll show off your OU pride every time you swipe. Learn more and apply today at oucreditunion.org/visa.
Okay, so now tell me about a time where you faced a challenge and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I would say that because I was very into the student organizations that I've run, there was a time that we struggled during one of the events that we were having, actually the events we were going to have for the rest of the semester. There was a conflict of different opinions. So what had happened was when we plan for these events, we have to plan it a month in advance. So we don't really know how many people are going to come in a month to our events. But I still really wanted to provide free meals to students for every event. I think that school is very expensive, food is very expensive. I really wanted to continue that passion of just providing as much help through all the fun things we were doing in these events. So after some events, there's some food left over that we have to give out, and sometimes go through the hallways and ask people, hey, do you want this food, or give it out to the pantry that we have here at school. I think that, sometimes it was a little hassle for us because we already had busy schedules, so having to continue after the event to give stuff out. Certain people didn't really like that. That was part of the group. And so I heard that, someone had disagreed on continuing to give out food at our events. So what I ended up doing was I personally contacted my team member, and I was explain to me, why you wouldn't want us to continue having food. And so I let them explain, and I also gave out my reasons of like, okay, well, I would still continue to help these students, and not just provide crafts, but also food. And so what we ended up doing was just minimizing the food that we were going to give out. So when we were doing the orders for the next events, we were just like lowering the amount that we were going to do. And yeah, I was like told them that if they had like contrasting opinions, I would rather have them tell me or like tell anybody that they feel comfortable, so that we can continue in having good events for the future. And not everyone is right, so we should always just like give out our opinions.
Yeah, come together and share a perspective and see how we can move forward with those conflicting opinions. Yeah. All right. So what about a time where you've collaborated? So I know you've had a lot of collaborations in your experiences, but another one where you've worked with a team on a successful project.
Yeah, I would say that my last semester here at OU with the National Hispanic Honor Society, we did a lot of networking events. So we also collaborated. So we collaborated with Alpha, the Association for Latino Professionals for America. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up looking out for different companies. So we ended up doing 2 different events with 2 different companies, and we both collaborated on both. Okay. But what we did was we kind of like divided our tasks of, we helped each other on both projects, but maybe one person was more focused on one company while the other person was focused on the other, just because of the relationship differences. Like personally, I knew one company way more than I knew the other company that we were going to collaborate with. So what we did was we ended up like coming back in the middle of like asking how much food we should have, what kind of food we should have, what time, location, why that location. So it was a lot of asking questions back and forth and to know each other's opinions. And then even for the other one, we asked like what kind of food we should have, how much food we should have, and we were always updating on like what each company was telling us. And so we always like came back, and we ended up doing like a little meeting beforehand for each one, and we were both like there. So even though like one person was more focused on that company, we were both there, and we both were always like acknowledging what was happening and updating each other. They ended up being successful. So companies came in, had some students engage with them. They got to learn about the company, hand out resumes. For one of them, there was like a really cool craft because it was a painting company, while the other one, it was more focused for engineers, but a lot of engineers came and gave out like their resumes to this person and like learn from their experience too, because we wanted to have these students know what they could learn from each company. So that was definitely a question we asked them during like the meetings of like, what can our students learn from you guys? So I think those were very successful like events that we had, and it definitely taught us more or strengthened our collaboration strengths that we had, our skills, because we were always very involved, and we still were able to share our opinions, and if we disagreed, we gave a reason why we disagreed. So it was really cool, the whole thing, that whole process.
Yeah,
so.
I hear that you guys were very inclusive, and you had an impact also. You brought employers to campus to help students understand, explore different opportunities, hear about the employers.
Yeah. Because we also were like both Hispanic groups, and we've like felt like we don't have as like big of a network as we could have. Mm-hmm. So I definitely wanted to bring in people that were also very like focused on how we can help these students learn from the next people and feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and that's definitely worth bringing up in your answer, right? You're really showing your passion for this cause, for being able to bring opportunities to people who may not have the opportunities as much as others. So great, right? It shows a little bit more of some of your inner motivations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'd like to, this is not a very common question, but I think that is going to become more common. So tell me about a time when you utilized AI to complete a task.
I definitely learned I used it more as interview processes were coming into my life. Just because I was so busy with sending emails during even my last semester, doing all these events with companies, and also just just having to network with so many professionals. I didn't know how to do it properly with English. I felt like it could just flow better, and the way I wrote was more informal, I could say. So I definitely used AI when it came to ChatGPT to plug in the emails that I wanted to write. I definitely asked it, how could this be more formal? How can I improve this? And so I would read them over, and then I learned a lot of okay, instead of these words I could use these words, or this is the structure that I should use. So I definitely used a lot of notes from that to write my emails, and to continue on and have my emails sound more professional later on. And so that was definitely the most productive I've been with AI, and using it as an asset of how can I have people know what I'm trying to say in a formal way, so I'm taken seriously.
Mm-hmm. And how, so that's helped you for, was it mainly to employers, or was it mainly to the class emails? Who would you send those emails to?
I would send them to employers, to the companies we were networking with, either for events or just in general.
Okay.
A lot of follow-up emails that I was sending.
Yeah.
I definitely did get some feedback from them. I think I just wrote a ton of emails that even for my professors, I wanted not to feel like I'm, writing too much. Instead of just going straight to the point, I would just continue and fluff it, fluff. And I was okay, I shouldn't fluff it too much. So a lot of that, I definitely going straight forward with anybody that I was talking to.
I see. Yeah, being more concise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So lastly, what kind of questions do you have for me, for an employer in general?
I would ask, because I'm so passionate in volunteering, how has the company supported you in your passions, either through volunteering or any other passions that you've had, and how has that been at your company?
Lovely question. I love that. It's really out of the box. It's not a general question, and it really shows, again, right here, your passion. And is it, you're also interviewing them? Are they aligned with me, and will they help in my own potential and development? Yeah. What about two more questions?
So one question I asked for a company that I did not think that I had a chance with, just because I thought it was so competitive, I asked them, tell me a time that you've made a mistake at your company, and how did your company react to that? What was the process after that? And so definitely took them a second to think about it, but I got to learn that that company wasn't as forceful after making a mistake. He said, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. And the way that they supported him after that, so he wouldn't continue doing the same mistake, but he also didn't feel like he didn't belong. And I really loved it. So I ended up picking that company too, because I had a misconception, and if I hadn't asked that question, I wouldn't have known that company wasn't, as scary as I thought. So that was definitely a question I would ask. And the last question, I I don't have like a specific question, but I would definitely ask something about like the history of the person. Okay. So like if I looked up on their LinkedIn, kind of like a little experience, you know, why did you transition from one company to the other, or from like a bigger firm to a smaller firm, kind of that kind of question. So like I saw that you worked at this company. How has that been different in the company that you've worked at now? Like, what is the difference of why you picked this company instead of the other? Or how is it that, you know, you went from like a big four to a smaller firm, or a smaller firm to a bigger firm? Like, what did you learn from those experiences? I like asked that question during the time where I didn't know if I wanted to do like a big four, or if I wanted to do a smaller firm, or like how was I going to be able to learn in each experience. So that was definitely targeted for me to learn about what people have gone through, and like what they've learned through them.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks for sharing. And I'm seeing that second question is an organizational perspective. You're trying to see, okay, how is the team, how's the company handling challenge and mistakes, right? Because you want to be in an environment where, again, here you want to be able to grow and be okay making mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And then the second one, or the third one, was more of a personal question here, but also helping you in your own exploration. So great questions. There's no right or wrong with those questions. You know, you can also ask more technical questions about, you know, the industry, about the field, or perhaps just about the role itself. If there's some lack of clarity in the job description, or you're curious about their services, or something happening in the news, you really want to be able to stand out with your question, and I think you've done really well.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'd like to wrap it up by having you assess yourself first. So think of a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest score. How would you rate yourself?
I would say that I would give myself a 7. I would say that there was times where maybe I like spoke too much about something instead of going straight to the point, which I normally do. But so I definitely would say that, you know, maybe it took me a second longer to like answer a question that maybe I should have. But I think it was still pretty solid. But yeah, there's always room for improvement. So I would never give myself a perfect score.
Okay. So why a 7 and not a 3, perhaps?
Not a 3?
Yeah.
I would say that I was still able to go through like the STAR method. It wasn't like concise of like, this is the action that I did, this is the task that I did. But I definitely like went through it. I would say that I was still very truthful in what I said. So I said it how I would normally say it. I'm not scripted. I definitely like conversations to flow. So I would definitely say it wasn't a 3, just because I feel like the interviewers wouldn't feel like this is like a chore. Of like, okay, well now I have to hear someone else. Maybe not be as passionate in talking to me as other people. And so I would say that trying to like have the other person either learn or feel like they are included in the interview, of like asking personal questions of like, okay, well some people really love talking about themselves, so like allow that to happen, allow them to talk about themselves. And so, yeah, that's why I would give myself a little higher than a 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've done well. My feedback for you, from what I've noticed, that what shined through is your passion and also your authenticity, right? You've done this for a bit, you've practiced, and it shows. So now you're more confident, you're more fluid. And you and I even talked about how, you know, you don't want to over-prepare because that can make you feel nervous. So there's really, I can see that you're trusting yourself at this point in the process. You're trusting that the words will flow as long as you know exactly, like, okay, these are the main themes and examples that I'll talk about. And you followed the STAR method as well. And it was like you said, perhaps sometimes it ran a bit long, but it was still very conversational and interesting. You have some great examples and impacts, which is what employers look for, is what kind of impact have you had? What are your achievements? So that you can transfer that into their company, help them grow. What else? Yeah, I mean, your body language, relaxed, eye contact. You've dressed well as well for the interview today. Groomed yourself well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any final tips that you have, perhaps after the interview? What would you do?
I would email them. I know it's suggested like within 24 hours. I would include something that would stand out in the interview, like something that you guys talked about that maybe they didn't talk about with someone else, or
yes.
Also being thankful for taking the time to do that, taking the time out of their day. I would, if you hadn't already connected with them on LinkedIn, just so they know a little bit more about yourself after. And yeah, I would say that definitely reaching out. Like sometimes it's very hard, or you like forget it. Even if you don't do it within the 24 hours, still try to do it. I would say, but yeah, definitely reaching out and thanking is definitely something I do.
Yeah, and I think you can stand out in that email by, like you said, just what stood out to you during that conversation, what motivated you, interested you, and then bring that points to, when you're reaching back out to them. So that's a great tip. And a general tip that I have for students is about being curious about their experience. In general, making sense of their past experiences, of the present experience, because that's where that unraveling of your truest expression will come out. So stay curious and in trying to understand and make sense of your experience. So, and remember that each interview is an opportunity for you to deepen your authentic storytelling skills. So, and that starts with self-reflection, understanding the skills that you've built, the values that you have, and the experiences that you have. So thank you for joining us for the Journey Mappers podcast. You can always book an appointment with a career and life design coach if you have an interview that you are prepping for. And what we'll do is help you strengthen your communication skills, your authentic expression, help you tap into your strength, understand employee expectation, share feedback. The list goes on. So book an appointment with us on Handshake, and what you will do is go into the appointment section and you'll click mock interview as one of the appointment types. So thank you again for joining us today on the Journey Mappers podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you again.